And joining me live now to discuss this is Bren Carlill, policy analyst at Australia, Israel and Jewish Affairs Council. Bren, thank you so much for joining Sky News. What do you make of the deal that's been agreed?
It's a great deal. It's certainly phase one, which is what was signed off on, is excellent because it finishes the fighting. It allows Israel to retrieve its hostages. You know, this war started because of the horrors that Hamas inflicted on October 7, but also the hostages that it took. And really, the war has continued because the hostages weren't released. Now they're going to be released in the next couple of days. So that's fantastic. And the other thing is it allows, Hamas has said that it will stop fighting. And this allows Israel and the international community to test Hamas. Will it actually stop fighting, or will it try and put the band back together and reform and once again attack Israel? And this is really, it's a good test phase to see what will happen.
We've seen attempts for a ceasefire many times already, and they've failed. What makes you think this one will be successful?
For a couple of reasons. President Trump is very much involved in this, and he has a lot of credibility in Israel because he has stood by Israel. Many other Western countries have not, including Australia, but the US under Trump and under Biden has stood by Israel. But the other thing is Trump has lots of leverage over Israel, and he has used that leverage to pressure Israel to stop fighting. And the other thing he's done is that Hamas has three friends in the world: Iran, Qatar, and Turkey. Now, Iran aren't part of these negotiations, but Turkey and Qatar have. And Trump has used his leverage over Qatar and Turkey and provided them with things that they want, such as promises of military kits and security guarantees and things like that. But he has basically bought their compliance. And so now they are telling Hamas that Hamas has to stop the fighting. Hamas suddenly realizes that it doesn't have any friends anymore, and it has to stop fighting. So that's why I'm hopeful about this deal. There's plenty that can go wrong. And I might add, you know, so much has been focused on this period of time, right? Politicians and everyone else has said they want the hostages released, they want a ceasefire. That's what we've got now. That's great. But really, I think the big test is what comes next. Hamas, and it really all boils down to this: Hamas wants to destroy Israel. It always has, and it always will. It's not going to change its stripes. But I'm not sure that fact has been internalized among many people in the West. They still think Hamas is a nuisance, that Hamas wants to end the occupation and establish a Palestinian state alongside Israel. It doesn't want to do that. It wants to destroy Israel.
Now, so what is the result here when we see a ceasefire come into effect? You know, what happens after then those hostages are released?
Well, really, it's a test. It's if the international community has internalized the fact that Hamas wants to destroy Israel, then they will not allow Hamas to reform. They will not allow Hamas to get its arms and get its military capacity back together. And there's going to be an international stabilization force moving into Gaza. If that force looks the other way, as Hamas puts the band back together, like the UN did in Lebanon, then there's going to be war into the future. If that force pushes back against Hamas and fights Hamas to prevent it from rearming, then there's actually a chance of lasting peace.
If Hamas doesn't disarm, is it likely that Israel won't move back beyond that first withdrawal line, as we heard in that previous story?
I believe so. This whole 20-point plan that Trump has put together appears to be that movement is based on achievements. It's not based on time. So each side has certain obligations and certain concessions that they need to achieve, and then there'll be movement after that. Now, Israel has been very, very open about the fact that it wants to agree to this plan. Hamas has been a bit more cagey. So if Trump in particular remains focused on this process and insists that Hamas achieves what it needs to achieve before the next phase moves forward, then Israel won't move back until Hamas actually does disarm and actually does show that it doesn't want to continue the fight.
It's believed there are 48 Israeli hostages in Gaza, about 20 of whom are believed to be alive. Are we any closer to finding out how many of them are still alive?
Well, we're getting closer by the day, but that figure of 20 still believed to be alive has been Israeli authorities have been fairly certain about that for a while, based on intelligence, based on things like that. I've got no great insights to it. Certainly, everyone, all Israelis, the Australian Jewish community, are just on tenterhooks, desperately waiting to see those hostages get released from Gaza. And then we can finally move forward.
Thank you so much for your time, Bren, Carlill. Appreciate it.